How to make a bank account activity spreadsheet. Hello guys, so today's video is how to make a bank account activity spreadsheet. So I know I did the one last for the clothing catalog. If you watched that one, guess what? We're still going to be doing the same prep over here because I don't want to force y'all to watch that just so you can see the styles and number formatting and all of that. So before we get started, this time I will not be showing mine as reference for obvious reasons. I will be putting like screenshots on there, but I'm not going to be showing it itself because, well, it's probably kind of obvious why. And I'm also going to make sure that I copy and paste everything beforehand. This one is a little bit more tedious, but at the same time less tedious than the clothing catalog. The maintenance is more tedious, but making it is not as bad as the clothing catalog because you're not going to do too much conditional formatting with it. So you don't have to make as many styles, and there's also some things you can play around with a little bit more on here. So let's just go ahead and get into, so why is this important? The main thing is to avoid overspending and budgeting, and it's very easy to access your finances if you just keep your bank statement records. And when you have everything listed on a spreadsheet, it's easier to tally everything up and add it. You don't have to pull out your calculator and then individually write the transactions. No, you can literally just select multiple cells and add all of those together with the sum written on the bottom, so that you don't even have to do any work. And you can also remove the ones that you don't want anymore, right? So it makes it very easy for something like taxes, where you need to have very quick access to something like monthly pay or monthly expenses. And again, you don't want to avoid saying you have monthly expenses of X amount when part of that amount is just you sending money to yourself. That's what this helps you avoid. So that's the main purpose of it. For me also, I do consider it as fun. Yeah, I know, like, oh, whatever, like, but I do consider this as fun, okay? So I'm going to try and be a little bit faster with this because the computer dies pretty fast. We're going to talk about 3 different types of accounts here: credit card, debit card, and then savings account. It's kind of important, but it's also kind of a common sense thing. And then I also recently added to mine a statement sheet, which I will be showing you guys. It's kind of just me playing around with formatting. So we do need to go through making styles again. I don't want to force you guys to watch the clothing catalog video just so you can understand how styles and all of that work. I'll be starting from scratch again, but I did copy and paste all the categories because, again, we're not going to my spreadsheet. So date is going to be formatted in terms of just numbers. So you see this date down here on mine. It says 2026-5-16. That's how we're going to do it here. You can do your day, month, year, whatever you want to do, right, as you're formatting. But I'm just saying we're not using date with weekday like we did on the clothing catalog because it's not necessary. The purpose of this is specifically for you to keep track of your finances over time, not on a daily basis, because updating this on a daily basis, even if it's fun for you, is kind of unnecessary and annoying. It's just supposed to mimic your bank statements, okay? To and from is who it's going to or coming from. The transaction type is whether it's a purchase, transfer, or refund. So we need these to be differentiated, okay? So a purchase is going to be something you buy from someone. A transfer could be either you giving money to someone or you giving money to yourself. You could call it internal or external transfer. So internal would be you giving money to yourself as kind of a signal to yourself for something that we're going to need to talk about later. An external transfer can be to giving to anybody else, your family, friends, whatever. But these are important, okay? Because when you're doing this, you have to use green and red to differentiate between what's going to and what's coming out of your accounts. Green and red styles. You guys will see. Okay, you can add different currencies on here and you can update the exchange rate, but I didn't do that with mine. I kind of got tired of updating the exchange rate. So mine is in Japanese yen. So the formula is the US dollar amount divided by 0.0069 because it was about that amount when I last checked it. Amount in US dollars or whatever your current currency is. Account money in the yen again, which is just a division function, and then in US dollars again. These first 2 are for how much the purchase, transfer, refund was, and these last 2 are for how much you have in your account. And then this check and X is if it's pending or posted. Check is posted, X is pending, okay? And this is kind of important because, again, this is mimicking your bank statement, okay? So you want it to be posted when it's posted on your bank, not when you make the transaction. So you're going to mark it as checked the next day, not as checked when you bought the item. If you don't get this to mimic your statement, you might have some errors within your records. For credit card, debit card, and savings account, the categories are all the same, but we're still going to be doing a little bit different conditional formatting for them. So that's why we have them all here. And then the last thing we have here are kind of used for budgeting and money goals. So we have account deductions, then we also have account deposits, right? And then we also have money goals, which is basically just for budgeting. I shouldn't be doing too much with this because I want to be as fast as possible as I can with this, okay? We need to talk about styles, correct? Yeah, and grouping cells. So this title, right, stretching out over all of the categories, is a group cell. But first I'm going to show you how it was formatted, and I'm actually going to fix the formatting here because they're not the correct colors, okay? These are from my... All right, so let's go ahead and see how to make a style, right? So I'm going to right click format cells, or if you have the style bar on LibreOffice, again, this is LibreOffice that we're using, free program. So they have this sidebar here, and on the sidebar, they have easy access to styles. You don't have to use the sidebar, but for me, it's very useful because you're going to be messing with styles a lot. So we are going to go ahead and right click format cells, right? In order to make a style, we're going to mess with the font, and then we have the size and all of that. You can also mess with bold, double underlining is applied on this one, and then font color, borders. For this catalog in particular, we're basically just going to be using the square one all the time. We have number formatting, obviously it's important, but it's not important for right now, for the title. And then we have background, which is, you know, I made a distinct color so that it could pop out. And then we have alignment, which is usually center in the middle. I didn't really show you guys this, but on my clothing catalog, I do have something that's like the last updated. And then it says the date that I messed with the catalog. And I'm not going to do it because of time's sake. But all it is a conditionally formatted date function. So now that we've made our style, I'm going to go ahead and select all the areas above these categories here. And then I'm going to press this button here, which is merge. And this bar was also edited. Okay, you can edit the toolbar. So in order to auto fit cells, we're going to click and drag the columns here, and then we're going to double click. I usually like to round to the nearest 1.5, then add 1.5. So this, for example, would be 4 instead of 2.5. And it just makes it look neat. You don't have to do that, but whatever. I'm just showing you guys a little trick. Okay, I've explained the categories already, but let's give this the correct categories formatting. So we're not going to have to be mathematicians to make this, but we are going to have to, at least a little bit of logic, a little bit of thinking, right? So first, we're doing our date. So again, we are going to alternate the colors to make the table easier to read. So since I have to make this, I'm going to show you guys what I'm going to do. I'm usually put the year, then month and day. So I'm going to be putting that. And I usually like to put the 0 in front of the single digit numbers. Again, you can mess with the formatting here with their format codes, but you don't have to do that all the time. So let's say the date is today. Okay, and I'm just going to copy and paste this up until a certain point, because we are going to need to do the rest of these without doing any formatting beforehand. So let's say I made a purchase to and from Walmart. In order to do your currency, right, you're going to start with your base number. I'm purchasing in US dollars because I live in the US. So we're just going to say $10. The exchange rate, Japanese yen, is 0.0069 US dollars. That's not the current exchange rate, but that's what I have on mine. This is a formula, guys, and this is another thing about how spreadsheets work. They work best with formulas anyway. You can just use a calculator and type in a number, but that makes things annoying. And as you drag down, the formula will apply to the cell relative to where it was. So this formula will use this cell right next to it. So when I drag down, the next cell will also use the same cell next to it for the formula. It's kind of hard to explain. I'm sorry, guys, okay? So when we do formulas, we always start with equals, and we're going to put equals this cell, which is F4. Cells are determined by which column and which row each block is in, okay? So this is in column F, and it is in row 4, so that's why it's F4. Anyways, so for this formula, it is equals F4 divided by 0.0069. All right, and this is our number in yen. I also formatted them for yen and for $, and they're kind of unique because based on whether the transaction is a purchase, refund, or a transfer, right, it would have a minus or a plus on the edge here. So let's go ahead and format these. Okay, so as you can see, the minus is right next to the $, and the amount is here. This was just me messing with number formatting. We are kind of using the same principle of using colors rather than individually reading stuff. So because this says purchase, it's red, right? To show that it's a deduction without you reading the minus sign right there. Okay, so yeah, we're doing the same thing, except this is not conditional formatting. This has to be done manually, at least to my knowledge. So there we go. So this is indicating that it's a purchase, right? So we will go ahead and say that we're starting with $200. So again, equals 200 equals 200. And this is a purchase. Okay, so minus, and then again, we're not going to type in an individual number, but instead type the cells so that this can make things automatic. All right, so we have 190, and then we're going to do equals this divided by 0.0069 for the Japanese yen. All right, and then this is checked to show that it's a posted transaction. All right, let's say we zeroed out the account. So our next transaction is going to be starting from this value right here, not from the 200 we started with, right? So again, it's a matter of clicking the cell, not typing the individual number, and then we're going to click this cell minus this cell, right? So this is our total amount minus the next purchase amount. So both of these were purchases, right? But this is a refund. So we're going to have to add this number instead of subtract it, right? So as you can see, we also need to do a transfer. Let's say it's an internal transfer, which means me or your bank, whatever. Let's say you sent $1 to yourself. So I usually give this a neutral because you're not really losing money. So this is still going to be a deduction from your account, but it's you saying that I don't need to include this as part of my expenses or something like that. Anyway, so I am going to copy and paste for here because we're going to do different stuff with these. By the way, guys, I forgot to say this, but we are going to be doing start of new year with this. So if you're going to change tables, all you're going to do is when you make your new table, your next transaction is going to grab from the bottom of your old one, right? So I'll do the debit and credit card conditional formatting, and then we'll move on to the extra stuff you can use this for. Okay, we're only conditionally formatting the account money and the check and minus, right? We don't need to conditionally format dates or anything like that here. So yeah, so we're gonna select our columns here, or if you don't select it, you can type it in the range box at conditional formatting, which is down here, and your range will always be told to you in the corner right here. So we're gonna do ones for greater than, less than, and equal to 0. So cell value is equal to 0. We're gonna do this, which is the neutral function. Less than 0. I call it double negative is greater than 0. I call it good. Yeah, I know 0 is a low standard, whatever. Any money is money, okay? So you gotta be appreciative of it. So as you can see, based on if the account balance is over or under 0 yen, it's going to be certain styles, right? And it's the same here, all right? And now we're gonna do check in X, and this is a cell value contains function. And again, the purpose of this is that you pre-format the table to a set amount. As you're typing, all of these numbers will show up as accordingly, right? So whenever the number goes below 0, it will just change on its own. You don't have to do any changing of it. Okay, that's the point of the conditional formatting. Make your life easy, okay? So with the credit card, however, we all know that the point is to go below 0, right? The point is to go in debt so that you can pay them back, right? Cell value is less than 0. So we're gonna put yellow, right? Which is basically, it's a warning, but it's not bad. So cell value is greater than 0. We're gonna call it good because that means you don't have any debt to pay off, right? So really you can just do whatever you want. But for me, like, I'm just explaining the logic behind why I'm doing these things. What I have on mine is like every year, how much money in total have purchases have made. So because we have two different tables here, one for 2026, one for 2027. So the sum function is specifically for numbers that are together. So you just click and drag for your range here, or you can type your range again if you know it. And if there's a number outside your range, you're just going to do plus the cell, right? All right, guys, so I know I didn't go through and explain everything, but as you can see, my computer is absolutely panicking, and so am I. So I just want to finish this video. So this, I very recently just made this, and the point of it is because your bank account activity spreadsheet is not a statement, but if you at least put the statements there, then you can show that this is where I'm getting my transactions from. So pretend this is my statement paper. Obviously, I'm not going to put a real statement paper here. So basically, I made this box where you put the documents, and the box can be extended, right? So I'm just going to copy and paste, click and drag, copy and paste. And so if it has multiple pages, it's just going to keep extending. Usually statements are for a month. For each month, each page will be going more and more to the right. But as the months pass on and as the year passes on, they will be going down, right? Guys, I'm sorry. I know I'm not really showing a lot and I'm kind of just telling, but it's whatever, okay? I guess because I made the clothing catalog, I feel a little bit lazy to do all of that explanation again. Thanks for watching. Bye.